Hey everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for Monday, January 13th, 2020. How's everybody doing on their transcription project? That's my first question for you. Last week we challenged you to transcribe the melody to Second Balcony Jump from Dexter Gordon's recording Go, and just wanted to remind you that that challenge is still in effect. And now it's the 13th of January, so get going on that if you haven't. We want you to be done with that by the end of the month so that you can post your results in the Facebook group. All right, now that that's out of the way, had to remind you, after all, I am your teacher, so I got to stay on your back about that kind of stuff. Let's get into today's. So something else that I want to do this year, I really want to structure these Motivation Monday podcasts into not just kind of like random thoughts from myself, but some actual structure for this year where we're going over certain things. So another thing I want to do every month is hip you to something that I've been checking out. And this year it's going to be on YouTube. Some videos that I've been really into that I feel like would benefit you guys, and talk about something that you can take away from these particular things that I've been watching and listening to. And they're mainly going to be performances that I've found particularly interesting and particularly valuable for you if you're thinking about certain things. So this month and this week, we're going to talk about this amazing video from a pianist, Shai Maestro, and one of the best jazz musicians out there, Chris Potter. They've been doing some duo playing for the past couple of years, and it's just really fantastic and enlightening to watch this stuff. So there's a particular video of them playing together, and they're playing All the Things You Are. So that is one of the most standard of jazz standards, a tune that everybody out there should know. And I think one of the tunes that probably the majority of you that are listening do know and play on a regular basis. And if you don't know it and you don't play it, you should be. So what I want to do is I want to break down a specific aspect to some of these performances, and I want you to listen to the recording through this lens, concentrating on some very specific things. And in this particular video, which I'm going to link to the video in the show notes so that you can grab it and find it on YouTube. But if you just search for Chris Potter, All the Things You Are, find the one that's him and Shai Maestro, and that should come up as one of the top search results on YouTube if you don't feel like going and checking out the show notes. But it will be in there if you want a direct link to that. Just go and find this episode, 10minutejazzlesson.com, and you can find that video. So the particular aspect I'd like you to think about, the lens I would like you to watch this performance through, is their time. I always find it really interesting when you're watching a group without bass and drums particularly, is that the time is not going to be expressed explicitly in either of the instruments at all times. Like when you have a bass player, generally that bass player is going to be playing a lot of quarter notes. And generally the drummer is going to be setting the parameters of that time on a regular basis. But when you're thinking about an ensemble like a piano saxophone duo, nobody really has that role. Now let me clarify a little bit. What I mean by that is that nobody has that role explicitly. Like a bass player's job is to express the time and anchor the entire band. Everybody in a jazz ensemble, regardless of what the ensemble is, does have a responsibility to express good time. Band would just fall apart no matter what the instrumentation is if we don't have good time. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's not the responsibility of the band to have good time. It's just not the responsibility of the pianist or the saxophonist to have that sort of mechanical, my job is to purely express the time like there would be if there were a drummer and a bass player. But this is one of the aspects of playing jazz that I think is overlooked, especially by horn players in particular. We think, all right, well, that's not my job to have really good time, but we could not be more wrong when we express that sentiment. It is absolutely our jobs, and you would be so surprised at how many more drummers and bass players will call you for gigs if you have really good time, and that's something that you focus on. Now, I think that this performance in particular is like a masterclass on having good time. The way that they interact with each other and the way that they dance around the time and then ultimately lock back in together and then sort of go on an adventure where the time becomes a little bit more nebulous, and then of course comes back and locks in. But what you will notice is when that time feels like it's becoming more nebulous and you can't put your finger on it, they're actually still keeping absolutely perfect time together. It's just that they're so advanced and their sense of time is so rock solid that they don't need to express it in just quarter notes and eighth notes while they're playing. So it's absolutely awesome. And if you listen to this, sort of over and over again with that lens of let me just focus on the time, maybe try to tap my foot or clap my hands along with them, you're going to realize that your sense of time is really inferior to theirs. And that's a really good thing to realize. And then maybe we go and practice with the metronome and we work on our time and our sense of rhythm and all that stuff because we realize just how awesome these world-class musicians' sense of rhythm and time actually is. So that's what I'd like you to do this week. I'd like you to watch this video, and I'd like you to just focus on their sense of time. Of course, you're going to hear a whole bunch of other stuff going on as well, and you're going to gain a lot of other insight, but I would like you to focus on that one aspect of their playing. Okay? So let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook group. Let me know what you're getting out of this, and let me know maybe you realize, I've got these deficiencies in my time that I only realized by watching Chris Potter and Shy Maestro play this tune. Let's start a discussion about it. All right? Enjoy. Remember, the video will be in the show notes. If you want to just search for it on YouTube, search for All the Things You Are, Chris Potter, Shy Maestro, and you will find that. No problem. Have a great week, everybody. I hope that this inspires you. And remember, I hope you're doing your transcription project because we're going to check in at the end of January with everybody to make sure that they've been working on that. Have a great week. We'll see you on Friday with a regular episode. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.